So who are you again? And I'll explain why I'm asking again.
It's all right. Anoop Baraka. I'm Director of Technology Strategy and Partner Development for the Flash platform.
Yeah, and you are?
And I'm Aaron Filner, Group Product Manager for the Flash platform focused on Air.
And we just did a separate video about all the new stuff you just announced at World Mobile Congress, and got some demos on your Android devices and iPhones and fun stuff like that. So that's a separate video. But I keep hearing three things from the Apple camp. Why Adobe Flash isn't on the Apple? And I keep hearing these things consistently, so I wanted to get your point of view on them. First one is it's going to chew up my battery. So Steve Jobs doesn't want to put your Flash player on iPhone because he thinks it's going to kill his battery.
I think battery life is a valid concern for any OEM, any developer, any consumer. But I think we can all, think of instances where we've had an app, we've left it running, forgotten about it on our smartphone, and come back and the battery's drained very, very quickly. We're using the same video hardware, we're using the same graphics hardware, we're moving more things off the CPU into hardware acceleration that gives us similar performance and similar profile as all these other devices. If you think about Flash having been shipped on 1.2 billion phones already to date, many of them use Flash for UI. And they're not advertised as having half the battery life of some other device. They're very efficient in the operation on these different devices. We've also taken some steps to go further, and particularly in Flash Player 10.1, our browser plugin that'll be out soon. We've actually done some optimizations to look at where Flash is on a web page. And if content's off screen, we actually suspend that Flash instance so that there's extra processing not happening off screen. Browsers don't necessarily do that. Web pages don't necessarily do that. We've actually been able to be thinking about this problem more broadly, and it's not just about what can we do in the runtime and using hardware better, but also thinking about how the application or the web page is being rendered. And what's being rendered on the screen, where are we in memory?
Now that's an interesting point, because Google Buzz has worn down my iPhone because Google Buzz is a live web page, and it keeps pulling the servers and keeps redisplaying.
What if it was in a tab off screen or in another page, or you were scroll down at the bottom and reading something else? How do we minimize use? And so I don't think this problem is unique to Flash. It's a problem with HTML and JavaScript and CSS and any other runtime, whether it's native or interpreted.
Yeah.
It's back to good design. And I think we have a tremendously talented pool of engineers that are thinking about these problems. We've solved them in UI use cases. We've solved them in other devices. We're going to be using those same tricks and capabilities and constantly improving so that your experience on a smartphone is going to be compelling for as long as the battery is available.
Yeah, now that's an interesting point, because I'm going to load Flash 10.1 on my Android devices. So even forgetting about Apple, should I be worried that there's some Air app running, like a Tweety or a Seismic or a TweetDeck?
Back to that application design. I think as you think about apps running simultaneously, when apps suspend, it's something that we've added events into the Flash runtime to honor those suspend events coming from the mobile OS. So if Flash is told to suspend or go into a low power state, we stop processing.
Yeah.
And that saves battery life a lot. And so it's again all about session management. How do we integrate with the OS? How do we take advantage of the hardware and be good citizens in a platform that is going to have limited juice?
Yeah. Second claim was it crashes a lot. It's a buggy app, or it's a buggy player, or where it crashes. It doesn't have a good experience for our users.
I think we take a lot of pride in shipping quality software. We've made the statement before that we try to ship with 0 crashing bugs. We had one developer identify one bug that got through, and we were able to do some post-mortem and figure out why that happened, improve that process, but also address that bug and tell them it's going to be fixed in the next release. We also are one of the very few companies that has a fully public and open bug database, so that as we can identify these problems from a much broader community, we can address them. And so, again, I don't think this is something that's unique to Flash or worse for Flash than other software. It's something that we have to constantly be vigilant about and continue improving. But I think we've taken a lot of steps and been more open about that development process than many other companies.
How is 10.1 going to measure up in that regard on
We have-
even on the desktop, right?
You know, those same
Because I do have
standards.
crashes once in a while on
Well,
my
but it's
desktop.
also, you know, on the 10.1, you're using the public beta probably.
No, I'm not on 10.1 yet.
Okay.
I'm still on the
So-
shipping software.
Well, we'd love, if you've had a crash with that Flash player, we'd love to hear about it. Because,
Okay.
you know, it's something that if we can identify it, then we can address it. It's sort of getting specific about those things is really important versus sort of creating that perception without being able to back it up with actual, you know, occurrences.
Yeah.
So we'd like to see that happen. It's, again, won't be dogmatic about saying it never happens, but we'd love to know about it so we can actually address it. And that's why the public bug database is there.
Cool. I forget what the third claim, the common claims are, but it has to do with, you know, just platform. It's not going to work well on a tablet, or, you know, the UI is not going to be touch capable, or you know, it's not going to fit into the methodology.
I think we've been able to show that Flash already works well in a variety of use cases. We've got all sorts of companies using Flash for digital signage, for video games, for ATMs, for kiosks. There have probably been more touch devices using Flash in a variety of form factors well before we got to touchscreens on mobile phones. And so this is just another extension. Yes, it requires people and developers to be thinking about their content and the design paradigms around it. But again, that's not new. We didn't have, you know, Mac OS or Windows dealing with touch events for a long time.
Yeah.
Now we do. We have to be thinking about how we design and take advantage of these different interaction paradigms as they're appropriate for different devices. We think Flash gives developers that type of flexibility and an ability to really leverage the same skill sets and workflow, but reach a much broader audience, whether it's via a web page, whether it's via an application, on a whole range of platforms: desktop, smart books, laptops, netbooks, mobile phones, and also televisions and tablets and everything else in between.
Yeah, I guess the last claim would be the speed problem, the speed problem where, you know, Steve Jobs is saying, well, it just doesn't have the performance on these small devices.
You know, I think it gets back to looking at how devices evolve. If you think about the power and specifications of smartphones 2 years ago versus today, it's dramatically different. It's why we're spending so much time with our silicon partners on how do we optimize for these different platforms, whether it's been ARM or Qualcomm, Broadcom, NVIDIA, Intel, Freescale. I mean, there's this long list of partners that have been working with us to both understand how these chips are going to evolve and we can take advantage of them, but also to optimize what's there today so that it can play Flash content more effectively. And given the breadth of contents available, the silicon platforms, these OEMs, for the most part, really feel it's important to enable that broad universe of content to work on their devices.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing a tremendous amount of support and interest. The Open Screen Project, as a community of partners working together to enable these types of things, has been, you know, doing some amazing work, and we're excited to be able to actually deliver it in Flash Player 10.1 in the first half of the year.
By July, we're going to have it on our Android devices. So this is, I bought an Android device so I could run this, and I expect other customers are going to buy Android devices and other kinds of phones that aren't Apple devices because they can run more stuff, you know.
It'll be a wider range of content available, absolutely.
You have any last things you want to say to Steve Jobs, since he might be watching?
We have a great relationship with our friends at Apple. We work great together, obviously, on a number of different projects, so we'd love to see Flash on the iPhone and the iPad and all those platforms.
Very cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.